entire stake in both the firms worth $13 billion or just over 1 lakh crore rupees. Hello and welcome. You're watching Markets Today on Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi, and on this edition, we'll try to understand what does this development really mean for the Adani Group shares, which have been on a tear so far and have created massive wealth for investors. Now, to help us with all of this, what are going to be the implications for the shares, for the investors, for the group as a whole? Joining me is a very special guest with me. Mr. Avinnash Gorakshakar joins in, Director Research at ProfitMart Securities. Welcome, Mr. Gorakshakar, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. Well, billionaire Gautam Adani has pledged his entire stake in both ACC and Ambuja, with Deutsche Bank Hong Kong branch as well. And now stakes in both these companies were 57% of ACC, 63% of Ambuja Cements. The statement to the stock exchanges says that these have been encumbered for the benefit of certain lenders and other finance parties. Help us understand why this move by Adani and what does this really mean for the group? What will happen now?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Sakshi, for inviting me. First of all, I think, pledging shares is definitely a new norm which is used by several aggressive promoters, and Gautam Adani is no exception to that. What has happened is he has acquired ACC Ambuja, and obviously the funding for this has been been done by pledging the shares in both these companies. So indirectly, he, without having contributed capital from his own side, he has actually funded these companies by the stocks, and his, shares in these companies. It definitely is a, proven strategy. If obviously the company grows exponentially, the revenue grows and the debt is kept under control. But what is important is that the markets are now getting a fear that possibly every acquisition which he makes in future also would obviously mean into pledging shares. In fact, there have been news reports that, he could obviously also bid for Rashtriya Ispat Nigam, which is going to be coming up in January. So, I think the market would definitely feel a little jittery on this aspect, which is quite obvious. Higher pledging is definitely not good in the longer term.
Yes, you're right, sir. And that exactly was my question. Many of the investors so far have always considered that high quantity of pledged shares are seen as a red flag by investors. So in this case, should shareholders look at this move as any sign of worry or concern?
See, I think in the very near term, Sakshi, I don't think there are going to be any challenging headwinds because, cement as a sector is expected to grow significantly, considering the kind of GDP growth India is going to record. Cement being a very near-term building block for the infra sector, cement consumption is bound to increase. And recently, Mr. Gautam Adani has said that he wants to double cement capacity in the next 5 years. So that is going to be a very ambitious target. My sense is that in the near term, these things may not matter because the momentum of all the businesses is pretty strong. But if there is a downturn in the business and if there is a cash flow kind of problem anytime going forward, then that could definitely impact, this factor. Pledging always hurts the most when the going is bad.
Right, absolutely. But the stocks of Adani Group today are all on the negative side. We saw them fall about 2%, 4%, 5% as well. Do you believe that in the long run, this could severely impact investor sentiment? Because the pledge comes at a time when the deal making in the area of businesses from green energy to media has already been raising some of the concern on the high level of debt across Adani Group. So what would you really advise all the investors of Adani Group shares who've already enjoyed a golden period so far?
I think, Sakshi, it's very difficult to justify on fundamentals any of the Adani Group companies, to be very honest. But my sense is that I think you should enjoy the ride till the ride continues. Definitely in the near term, I think it won't have any impact, significant negative impact on the group's financials. And as you rightly said, the only concerning factor for the market is that the group is diversifying into very unrelated areas like media, entertainment, or for that reason, even cement. These are areas where the group has not proven, its expertise and skills, which are required here. So I think markets will keep close watch here. But yes, definitely, I think today's correction is a mild correction. If you look at the way these stocks have gone up, this is a very minor correction. And I don't think, Adani stocks always have the ability to bounce back also equally sharply. So I think longer term aspect, I think definitely looks a little worrisome. But in the near term, I think momentum will continue.
Okay. Now, this also is perhaps one of the largest such moves in the history of Indian stock markets pledging, largest loan taken against shares in India. Do you believe that Adani will have to now use the profits from his businesses to relieve these shares, and will it take a long time? The shares will be locked for a long time. What would be the repercussions?
See, I think as of now, it seems to be a little difficult to presume that the Adani Group will have to use the existing companies as cash cows to fund these pledged kind of assets. My sense is that both ACC as well as Ambuja, these are companies which are very strong, have got very profitable cash flows. I think in the end, it depends on how they're able to scale up their capacity, how they're able to generate more cash flows in the business. Because eventually, debt can always be a good factor provided your top line and operating cash flows increase also, simultaneously. So obviously, this is not going to be a very significant negative factor in the near term. But yes, in the longer term, as I mentioned to you, when a industry cycle goes through a downturn, that is a time when I think actually the problems start biting into promoters who have pledged their shares in a significant manner.
Right. So what would be your outlook on the Adani Group shares in the near term, in the long term?
See, I think clearly, if you ask me, my choice for Adani Group companies, we are very positive on Adani Ports because we believe that Adani Ports is a monopolistic kind of player in the infrastructure and the port space. They have more than 35 ports in their portfolio. And I think today, if you look at exports or imports, the port is the first entry point or the exit point for any exporter or importer. So I think to that extent, Adani Port looks very attractive. On the other set of companies, I think it's better to be a little cautious. I think obviously these companies have run up significantly and valuations are definitely not fairly but richly expensive. So I think Adani Ports definitely could present a good opportunity.
Right. And what would be your outlook on the cement sector that has been on a rise recently, of course, and that the trigger was the Ambuja ACC, takeover and also the tie-up, the combination of both. That was the trigger. But now what happens to the entire cement space and where would you be now bullish and bearish on?
See, I think currently, if you ask me, most of the cement stocks have risen significantly because, obviously, after Ambuja's decision to raise 10,000 crores, raised a lot of rumors in the street that there could be a lot of inorganic acquisitions in the cement sector. So a lot of cement companies, both large as well as medium sized, went up significantly. But realistically, I believe the second quarter is also going to be a challenging quarter because raw material prices have gone up. Input prices have gone up sharply, and most of the companies have not raised the cement prices quite significantly. So obviously, the December quarter could be a better quarter. But near term, I think I would believe that it's always good to look at these companies on a market decline. Whenever the market presents an opportunity, it's better to look at larger cement players on a market decline rather than looking at them at the current levels where valuations definitely seem a little expensive.
So on ACC and Ambuja, would you be positive or would you say that all the investors who had a good share of run should look at booking profits?
No, I think definitely in the near term, valuations have become expensive. In fact, Ambuja has given very good returns in a very short period of time, purely because market sentimental reasons and the fact that Mr. Adani has himself put more than 20,000 crores in Ambuja Cements. So that factor also boosted the stock. I would suggest that at these levels, investors who have the stock can hold on, but fresh buying should be avoided. I think you can wait for some minor correction and then look at buying these companies.
Okay, understood that. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gorakshakar, for being with us on this show and discussing with us, what the Adani Group's pledging of shares in ACC and Ambuja really means for the entire group, the stocks of Adani, and now what really happens in the cement space going forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you.